How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, the trio, Alex, Ryan, and Sam. We're diving into yesterday's game. Giancarlo Stanton struggles, but had a really big hit yesterday and maybe can kind of blossom out of this cold streak with a little bit of a hot streak. And we really need it because without Aaron Judge, as we've seen, this team is pretty much incapable of scoring more than 5 runs. And Stanton is the catalyst. Like, he's one of those guys that can really bolster this offense and take it to another level in the blink of an eye. The power metrics are still there. He's just swinging and misses. His swing decisions are poor. The discipline's been a little bit poor. He struck out a couple times yesterday, had some tough moments, but otherwise, came up big in the 8th inning, gave us that 2-run lead. So definitely big there. I also want to talk about Billy the Kid, Billy McKinney, who's been stepping up big over the past couple of weeks to help this team offensively supplement some of the losses that Judge left behind. He has been a catalyst. He's probably been one of our best, if not our best offensive player over the past 2 weeks. So I want to give him some love as well. But guys, it's been a tough stretch for the Yankees. Ryan, I'll start out with you. Just talking about Billy McKinney, your thoughts on Stanton, if these guys can turn it around.
Yeah, so far, number one, Billy McKinney has been absolutely phenomenal. He's doing a lot of really good things at the plate. Obviously, he's putting up production, and that's the number one thing, right? At this point, the Yankees are in a situation where you kind of don't really care how you win. You just want to win until you get Aaron Judge back, because we know this team is definitely not. If this team had to make the playoffs without Aaron Judge, they're not going to do it, right? Like that, they're not going to make the postseason without Aaron Judge. And I don't think they're going to make much noise in the postseason without Aaron Judge. But having a guy like Billy McKinney step in definitely helps. He doesn't chase a lot. He doesn't have a whiff issue. He hits the ball pretty hard consistently. He consistently finds the sweet spot of the bat. And he's doing a lot of good things at the plate. And the Yankees really need that. The Yankees need an outfielder who can give them offense. Am I sitting here and saying that Billy McKinney and or Jake Bauers is going to be the Yankee solution left field? Not yet. I think, we want to wait for a larger sample size. I think Franchi Cordero kind of, taught us that valuable lesson of waiting for a larger sample size, because he went from hero to zero in the span of like 2 weeks. But, in the case of Billy McKinney, it also helps because, as we've been talking about, Stanton struggles. They're definitely concerning. But do I think he could turn it around? Absolutely. Really, all it takes for Stanton, it feels like, is just that one swing, right? It's not like we're seeing a dramatic decrease in his power numbers. It's not like strikeouts or something that's new for Stanton. He's played well in spite of strikeouts really his entire career. For me, it feels like he's just out of whack. It feels like his swings aren't there, and they aren't where they should be. And the sweet spot rate it backs that up. Back in 2021, it was at 32.6%. This year, it's at 24.7%. For those unaware for what that metric means, it's whenever you hit a ball that's between 8 degrees and 32 degrees in launch angle. And that's because typically you find the most success when you hit the ball between those degrees. Stan's not doing that very often. He's still hitting the ball hard. He still has the max exit velocity where it should be. Still has good barrel rates. Still has good average exit velocity. But it's just he's pounding the ball into the ground. His swing decisions aren't great. He's already pretty slow, so that's not going to help him beat up ground balls. So being a guy who hits the ball into the ground so much, it's really not going to help him. And his line drive rate, again, dropped from 24.2% in 2021 to 19.5% this year. He's just got to find his swing. I think all the tools are there. It's really just a matter of getting comfortable at the plate and finding consistent at-bats and having it click at some point.
I will go in the opposite order of what Ryan did. I will talk about Giancarlo Stanton first. So the struggles are really getting frustrating. I think that, with Giancarlo Stanton, I think he truly is the catalyst of this Yankees team. I think that, Aaron Judge can carry you through these rough stretches and carry the offense at some point in time. But when I look at Giancarlo Stanton, I look at the first half of last year when the offense was clicking on all cylinders, and Giancarlo Stanton started in the All-Star game in left field for the American League, which was insane. Like, I was watching the All-Star game last night. I completely forgot about that for some reason. So he was on fire last year. Like, I want to say he hit like 20 first half home runs. Like, he looked like one of the best outfielders on the planet. Looked like Miami Marlins Giancarlo Stanton. The injury happens right after the All-Star break. We didn't see him for like a month. Then he goes cold. The offense just dies after that point. And that's where we went through that really rough patch last year where it seemed like the Yankees couldn't win a game and we were just kind of watching Aaron Judge going to get 62 and do whatever. But ever since that injury last year, he has not been great. It's been kind of just like a dead hole in the middle of the order. And you hope that at some point in time he can turn it around and he can become that generational hitter. It always seems like once he comes back from these injuries that it takes a good while. It takes like a month for him to really get back to his form and for him to start just hitting the baseball again and not swinging at those dumb low sliders away. But at this point, you're just kind of waiting for that click. Like you said, you're waiting for that one, just hit. You're waiting for that one, massive home run like he had against San Francisco in the second game of the season when he absolutely, nuked that ball to center field. So you're waiting for that kind of swing. hopefully he can turn it around soon because it's there. You see how strong that dude is. Like, he could still hit balls 116 miles per hour. So at this point, you're just kind of playing a waiting game. And I think that once he starts going, I think kind of the rest of that offense starts to go because really it's just a dead hole in the middle of your lineup right now. And with Billy McKinney screams like Matt Carpenter, but like I don't like throwing that term around too often because Matt Carpenter was probably the best baseball player we've all ever seen for a 3-month stretch. But Billy McKinney, for an offense that is struggling, you could not have told me in February that we're relying on Billy McKinney and Jake Bauers, who were probably two guys that I wasn't even thinking about in February that were even going to be on this baseball team. But it's like unreal because Billy McKinney is a guy that I looked at on the Oakland Athletics a couple years ago. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he's just one of those guys that's out there. Now, Billy McKinney's probably the Yankees' best player at this point. Should we talk about like all-star voting, like maybe toss one in there? Maybe he should be up there with the rest of the guys that go to Seattle, right? I don't know, man. I mean, like, I want to say it's like 8, like per like 80 plate appearances. He's got like the 4th highest OPS like in the league, like whatever. Maybe we should start talking about stuff like that. But in all seriousness, though, like this is a guy that's like literally hitting 300 and is absolutely carrying this offense right now. And none of us could have expected this. So it would be nice to see him continue the stretch and be a legitimate solution in one of the corner outfield spots. And even if Judge is out for a long time, that would be great. But it feels like a Cinderella run, and I hope he can continue it. But my confidence on him continuing this for the rest of the season, it's not necessarily there yet. It's still kind of a wait-and-see thing. But he's been great so far, and it's been really fun to see him play.
I mean, look, the Yankees, and this is kind of my qualm with the Yankees strategy, is that every single season we're depending on guys like Billy McKinney to suddenly rejuvenate an offense. You know what I mean? Whether it's without Matt Carpenter last year, we were a shell of ourselves during the second half of the year. You know what I mean? Like, this is a consistent problem is in that our starters barely ever play sometimes. You know what I mean? We have backups and supplementary pieces and gems that we are praying. Like Willie Calhoun has gotten a significant amount of reps this year. Significant, if not for this injury, he'd be playing every day. You know what I mean? Like at some point, our starters have to actually play and they have to be consistent and they have to be good, right? Because you're not going to win championships. And I want to give as much credit as possible to Billy McKinney. But as you kind of referenced there, we're not going to win championships with Billy McKinney starting in the outfield every day. You know what I mean? Like, that's just objectively true. Billy McKinney in the postseason is not going to be the Billy McKinney you get against some really, really bad teams in the middle of June. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. So we need our starters. You need your Judges. You need your Stantons. You need your Baders to step up in the outfield. And, we got the deadline coming up in a couple of weeks, and ultimately the Yankees might make a move. There are players available. We talked about Lane Thomas. The Athletics said Starling Marte would be an interesting acquisition for the Yankees. I mean, he's kind of expensive. He's not a free agent until 2026, so taking on a pretty big contract there. But there's other guys. I know, Ryan, you love Brendan Donovan, a really good leadoff hitter. There are some really good players that could be available, but who knows? The Jock Petersons of the world, unlikely. The Giants are good. Like, they're not going to be selling right now, probably. So you look at some of these teams and you have to think to yourself, why would they sell? They have to be in a tough spot in the division standings to actually make that judgment call right now. Coming up in a couple of weeks, we obviously have the All-Star break, and then you have the deadline in early August. So it's coming up fast, guys. It's going to be here before you know it. And the Yankees need help. The starting rotation picked it up. They carried the bullpen and the rotation carried us against the Texas Rangers. The fact that we can't score more than 5 runs is a really bad problem. It's not a sustainable strategy. You know what I mean? You need above average offensive players. And if guys like Stanton, the number one priority, the number one variable here is consistently going to be maintaining our health. If Stanton does not get healthy and start contributing positively, if Donaldson doesn't, and for some reason Donaldson, who stopped the entire media yesterday from actually having any sort of confront with Aaron Boone and getting any knowledge information from Aaron Boone, 17 minutes, 20 minutes he was late just to come out and say that Donaldson's actually going to be playing even more. Like, what the hell is happening? Like, I thought we was getting DFA'd. I know a lot of everyone's like, he's getting DFA'd, he's getting released. Like, finally, we can open up this spot for other guys. And instead, Boone comes down and says, we're on the same page, he's getting more playing time. What the hell? Like, what is happening right now in that Josh Donaldson is deserving of more playing time? I don't know. He's been benched for 3 games. Maybe they were just saying that. They've won 2 games, and Josh Donaldson, they've won 2 out of 3 against one of the best teams in baseball, and Josh Donaldson was not on the freaking field. Go figure. You tell me, is that a coincidence? Probably not. I mean, maybe it's a little bit more to do with the pitching. But DJ LeMahieu had a huge 2-run double yesterday. Massive, really, really helped him. He should be playing third base every single day, Ryan. When you're looking at this team, the decisions they're making, you're looking at the deadline coming up. How confident are you that guys like Stanton, guys, like Donaldson, can actually be positive contributors the rest of the way? And do you think it's absolutely necessary that we go out and upgrade this roster at the deadline? Or do you think, we're better off sticking with what we have, going with some internal solutions and hoping our guys just get healthy and start contributing in a good way?
Yeah. So this is a tough question. It's always hard to, not that it's hard to ask whether the Yankees should buy or not the deadline. I feel like the answer to that's always going to be yes. But the confidence level with certain guys. So Stan, I feel like you kind of have to rely on him to come back because, he's a crutch of this lineup. I'd rather them bank on what Stanton is and what Stanton can be. But I don't feel that way about Donaldson, and I still don't feel that way about LeMahieu. I feel like LeMahieu's struggles are beyond concerning. Like, Stan isn't striking out 40% of the time. Stan is striking out as much as he has over the last 2 to 3 years. So I'm not too concerned about he's lost a skill. LeMahieu has genuinely lost a skill. Like, his contact rates, they're not existent. His strikeout rate is doubled from last year. It looks like it's an age thing. I think he's a valuable bench piece, but I can't have him starting at third base in the postseason. The Yankees need bats. And I honestly, I feel like a lot of people kind of overlook this. The Yankees have their star bat. That's Aaron Judge. The Yankees have their Superman. They're unbelievable talent. Like, when I see people say like, oh, I wish we had an Acuna or an Ohtani. Like, yes, I wish we had more good players as well. I too wish we could put out, the Monstars or whatever it may be. But the Yankees do have their number one guy that, can carry a lineup. They just need the depth around him. Last year in 2022, not to, continue to bring up that team, but in the first half, what worked really well for them, 1 through 9, or at least 1 through 7 or 1 through 8, they had competent offense around the best player in baseball that season, Aaron Judge, right? Even in stretches where Stanton was hurt, obviously Carpenter filled in and was great. In the beginning of the season, Donaldson was actually a plus for the Yankees. Then he completely fell off. Rizzo was able to give the Yankees offense. Torres, it was when he slowed down, the Yankees really started to struggle as well. They had plenty of depth around him. LeMahieu as well. I don't want to, leave guys out. Trevino was a good hit, or at least a clutch hitter for a while. If the Yankees surround Aaron Judge with depth, I think that'll work, right? And I'm pushing all the way in that the Yankees need a third baseman. I'm not sure the answer to that is Peraza, because Peraza is more of a glove first guy. And you actually have to teach him third base. So I think you look externally there, and I think that guy is Jeimer Candelario. The Yankees suck at seeing a lot of pitches. The Yankees are 9th in pitches per plate appearance, or in terms of they have the 9th fewest, right? That's not a success. That is not a successful formula. You have to see a lot of pitches. You have to be able to work walks. You have to be able to get on base. You have to be able to grind at bats. The Yankees aren't good at that. Jeimer Candelario is above average in that regard. The Yankees need a guy who can give them some actual offense in the 5th spot. They've tried LeMahieu. They've tried Torres. Torres kind of fits more of the leadoff mold for now because they don't have a leadoff hitter, which is something I think they need to get as well. But Candelario fits perfectly. He can hit 5th. He's a switch hitter. He pulls a lot of fly balls. That works well in Yankee Stadium. Plays excellent defense. That's something the Yankees value at third base. He's a little bit more athletic than LeMahieu and Donaldson, so you can do a little bit more on the base paths. Kind of quietly this year, the Yankees have been one of the worst base running teams in baseball as well. I believe they're 23rd or 24th in base running runs. That's bad, right? Like, you're not, again, that's going to cost you in the postseason. So I think getting a little bit more athletic, getting a bat who's right now got a 117 WRC plus, knows how to hit a lot of extra base hits, is a doubles machine, can hit some home runs as well, puts the ball in play. It's going to give you some confidence in that 5th spot that when there are runners on base, you're going to get a lot of production. You're going to drive more runners in. And again, it feels like the Yankees have some situations where it's like, okay, runners on 1st and 2nd, or runner on 2nd, no one out, and they can't cash in against the Mets, against the Red Sox. 2 games that you probably win if you just execute in the top of the 10th inning there, or bottom of the 10th. And they couldn't. So they need more depth in their lineup. I think adding a third baseman like Candelario, he's a rental, shouldn't cost much. I think that'd be a perfect fit for this team.
Yeah, there's a couple things that I like that you brought up. First off, the base running thing. I think that the Yankees aren't looked at as a bad base running team. I feel like Anthony Volpe kind of overshadows that and all that hype, and everybody doesn't really realize how bad the Yankees are in the base pass. I like the fact that you brought up last year, because I feel like you looked at Jose Trevino last year in this Yankees lineup, and he was a solid producer for this team. That first half was unbelievable. I would do insane things to have that team right back to where it is, because it's realistically the same lineup, and these bats just do not click. And last year it just kind of felt like they all fell off at the same time, and it was the exact same thing when Aaron Judge got hurt. I feel like without Aaron Judge in this team, it feels like, to me, this feels like 2018 Cleveland Cavaliers, because 2018 Cleveland Cavaliers, you had LeBron James literally carrying the life out of that Cavaliers lineup, carried them to the finals, obviously got like waxed by the Kevin Durant Warriors in the NBA finals. But like right now, that's what it feels like with this Yankees team, because I feel like without Aaron Judge, this team doesn't do anything, like nothing whatsoever. It's weird to say that they've won 2 series in a row, because I feel like the offense hasn't done anything at all, but they're 4-2 in their last 6 games, and they went out and beat the Texas Rangers. The pitching carried the life out of us, and you're still like, at this point now, you're going to get Rodon back in a week, which is going to be awesome. But I fear for this offense, and I love the fact that you brought up Candelario, because the third base situation is really interesting. I, in my heart of hearts, do not think that Josh Donaldson's here in like 3 weeks. I do not think it's going to be a real thing. The quotes yesterday are just really, really concerning. It just seems like there's something there that's like going to happen. And him sitting on the bench is just like a weird sign. You obviously like want DJ LeMahieu to come back and like be that same like guy, like be like the leadoff dude that we've had for the past couple of seasons. But right now, I don't know if that's going to be a thing. Like you said, like the strikeout rate doubled, and it's like concerning. Like it's something we've never seen before out of him. So I feel like third base, like at least at the deadline or even going into the offseason, has to be a necessity. And I just feel like, you know, if it doesn't go the way the Yankees wanted to this year without Aaron Judge, and we're just kind of waiting on what's going to happen with that injury, they could make some serious changes with this team if they don't like do what they want to do. And if they see that the pieces that are around Aaron Judge can't get it done, I think that they might like not necessarily blow it up, but just make like several changes to this roster and even the organization in general, because it's just, if it's been on a consistent level of like, you cannot get it done, and this team's not going to win a championship if they just keep with the same setup. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the trade deadline, because I don't think it's a star-studded deadline where you could go out and like just win a World Series at the deadline like the Atlanta Braves did a couple years ago. So it's going to be it'll be interesting to see where the team is as a whole, like if they're still like even in play for a playoff spot at that point. But yeah, it's kind of like a wait and see thing, because you're just kind of waiting on the Judge injury. And, you know, I would do a lot of things to have that first half lineup back. That would be like my number one wish for this team right now.
Oh, absolutely. You know, you wish to see that. But the truth is that this team, as you guys both have kind of said, is not good enough around Aaron Judge to win, and they're not good enough without Aaron Judge to win. So, you know, you need to consider the fact that this roster has been kind of poorly constructed. We needed another above average bat, and the Yankees didn't do that this past offseason. We just kept what we already had and added Carlos Rodon, who's really close to a return. I think he maybe has one more rehab start left, or maybe he's actually supposed to start on Wednesday or Thursday for the Yankees. I don't exactly know, but he should be, you know, in the mix very soon, which is a good thing. Obviously, having Carlos Rodon back is a significant boost, because our starting rotation has faltered in some areas. You know, Herman's definitely taken a big step back, but this deadline is going to be interesting because, you know, if you're Cashman, you have to think to yourself, how close are we to a championship? Is one more piece going to be the difference for us? You know, and is selling high or selling on a prospect like Peraza worth it right now for a player that may be a free agent in 2 years? If you're selling Peraza, you need to get a player with some upside who has a couple of years of control left. You know what I mean? Like, you can't trade Peraza for a guy who's going to hit free agency in a year, unless they want to extend with the Yankees, then it's fine. And they're willing to spend on it. But it's going to be interesting. Like, this is not an easy deadline to maneuver, because there's not that many players available. And the ones that are going to be available are going to be pretty expensive, because teams know, you know, this is the demand is low. We can hike up the prices, and someone's going to have to pay for it. So Cashman might find himself in a tough spot again. You might have no choice if they really think, you know, the thing is, the Yankees always convince themselves that they have no choice, because if we don't make any moves, the fan base is going to freak out. So it's really like their backs are against the wall. If this team doesn't turn it around, the guys that are already on this team, if they don't turn it around, it's going to be a problem. And it's going to be a waste of assets that we have right now, instead of maybe leveraging them during the offseason to boost this team. So I'm curious to see what they do. We'll keep you guys updated, as always, on the future of this roster and what kind of is going on and all the rumors that are coming out. But always happy to hear your thoughts below on Billy McKinney, Stanton, what you think the Yankees might do. Really appreciate that. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.